Hi, we have Dennis Cappel here with Change Your Thinking, Change Your Ride. Dennis, this is a new program that you've come up with, but I think this is really important. Let's talk about what is so important about your thinking.
Well, just about everything, because if you don't consciously put some thought into what you're going to do with the horse, then the horse is pretty much in control. You might be fortunate enough to have kind of an old numbed out horse that really doesn't care what's going on, and he might carry you around and you rode, but probably wasn't a lot of fun for you or your horse. But if you really want to raise your level of horsemanship, if you want to be able to improve your horse every time you get on it, it's going to require that you actively take control of your thoughts.
So how do you actively take control of your thoughts? And have you always thought like this? Is this something you've always done?
Well, probably not as aware of it as I am now. I'm sure there was always an element of thought, but it always had with it too an element of doubt, and wonder. Am I doing too much? Have I done enough, or whatever? Or what do I do now? Anytime a horse wasn't doing something, that triggered me that there's something more. So it was the stepping your way through to find out what works, and how to really communicate with a horse that has brought me to this level of awareness, and how much involvement that your thoughts actually do have. If give you an example, when I go to do anything with a horse, I don't have any doubt that I can show that horse how to do the thing that I want, and have that horse comfortable and liking doing what I want. And that's what the role of effective communication does. And anything about any kind of communication, it's going to require that you put some thought into it.
So with this program, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Ride, how can this benefit somebody?
Oh, it can benefit you greatly. It depends on what you want. I mean, it's all relative to what a person wants. If you're satisfied where you are, there's no need to search. But if you've got any inkling in your mind that perhaps I could get a little more out of my relationship with my horse, and the fact is we're all riding better horses than we know we are. We just have yet to unlock the potential that's there because of that block of our thought.
So say that again. So you just said that we're riding better horses than we think we are?
Sure. We're the limiting factor on what they can accomplish.
We're the limiting factor on what the horses can accomplish?
Most of the time. Now, there are some limitations that some horses have on themselves, but most of the time we have gotten in the way, or we have not effectively communicated in a way that the horse understands.
How do we get in the way of a horse? Either he's good or he's not, right? Or is that not right?
No, yes, there's a vast differences in horses. Don't get me wrong. There are some horses that make very difficult things look very easy. There's those exceptions, just like athleticism in people. There's a lot of varieties, but most any horse can play the game that you want to play. At what level you want to play, then that might make a little bit of difference. But most of the time, we just have not been able to effectively communicate our desires to our horse. And when that has been compromised in some way, then the horse's only choice is to hit the level of understanding that we have at any given moment.
So this is really about anything. This isn't, even though we're talking about horses, it's about everything, right?
I think so. I mean, think about it from professional athletes, for example. I mean, I'm not a golfer, but who hasn't heard of Tiger Woods? And Do you think that there's any doubt in his mind when he goes out to the green, what he's going to do with that, which club he's going to use, what ball, how he's going to hit that ball, or what his strategy is? He's got a plan, and he's following that plan. And that's what thought will do for you.
So how do you use that with a horse?
Well, it's like taking this time, while the weather's not real conducive, and being out there and physically working with your horse, take that time to train your thoughts and to start thinking in terms of the clear mental pictures. Start thinking in terms of soothing yourself, being your best cheerleader instead of being against yourself all the time. Most of us are so antagonistic against ourselves that we talk to ourselves like we talk to the worst enemy that you ever had, or you probably talk worse to yourself than that. We need to learn, all of us do, to be the encourager to ourselves, to be the uplifter, to be the one that says, you can do this. It's going to work out all right.
So does your horse feel that, whether you believe in yourself or whether you don't?
Yeah, they're real perceptive. I mean, them horses, they feel everything. I mean, they know when you've had a bad day at work. They know when you've had a good day at work. They know when you're in a hurry. They know when you're not. How? It's all vibrational. What kind of a aura? What kind of a you can see it when a person walks in a room that's upset. You can see it. You can feel it. And nobody has to write you a letter to say something's wrong here. Well, horses are that way too. I mean, they survive by reading their environment and reacting or responding to whatever the situation is, and that's where conscious thought comes into play, because you can take a normal reactive horse and get that horse to thinking logically, and all of a sudden you've got a whole different bowl of clay to mold there. If you've got a horse that's thinking and agreeing with you and trying to do the things you want now, then you've got something that you can really put into use for yourself.
Okay, I mean, you just said too, so if you got that horse thinking, that means that the rider's thinking.
Well, I don't think you can separate the two. I mean, you might, how's that saying go? Even a blind sow will find an acorn once in a while, but you won't know how you did it or where you got it. So, what good's it going to do you? But if you practice deliberate thought, then you're going to be able to repeat that, and because you're able to repeat it, you're going to be able to improve upon it. So that's how that, as time goes and this starts overlapping, you're going to have a gradual, steady level of understanding and improvement.
A momentum.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what was that about that sow again? I hadn't heard that one. What is that?
Even a blind sow can find an acorn once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah. In other words, she'll smell around and find it.
So,
the ones that have sight, it's easier. They'll run over there and grab it. But the ones that can't see, they have to use a different sense.
Okay. And so that parallel with the horse riding?
Well, the point I was getting at.
Sorry.
Here I am sitting there at my granddaughter's. She labeled this stuff old people's candy, so I'm just sitting there deciding which piece of old piece of candy I was going to eat, and here you are trying to complicate my thinking by asking me how to compare a blind sow finding an acorn to riding a horse. But here's how it is: if you don't know how you got to where you are with your horse, how are you ever going to repeat it? It'll be you think, boy, I had the best ride of my life, but everyone after that's been just terrible because none of them live up to that one. Well, the reason is you didn't know why it was a good ride. You didn't know what you did to create that, so you couldn't duplicate it. But when you know without a shadow of a doubt, then you can repeat the process.
So how do you know that why? How do you get that understanding to know what it is that gave you what you wanted that worked out for you?
Practice the implementation and the use of the clear mental picture.
And that clear mental picture is?
Knowing exactly what you want your horse to look like, act like, be like.
I've often heard you say that for ages, that good horsemen, that is one thing they all agree on.
Yes, they'll always, a lot of times when they're helping you, they'll say, what did you feel, or what is your picture? What are you trying to accomplish? It really doesn't matter what you're trying to accomplish. You just got to have a picture. You got to have a picture, because if you don't have that picture, then you are the blind sow.
Okay, so how do you get that picture?
Well, you have to consciously develop it, and realize that you are developing the best tool that you have to develop feel and timing. And mental imagery is what every invention that was ever created started as a thought in somebody's mind, which developed into a clear mental image of that thing, which was able to be put down probably on paper, and then, off of paper onto the, whatever it was. It doesn't matter what, everything, is developed that way.
Through a clear mental image.
Sure it is. It might not always get the credit, but I'll guarantee you that the thought triggered an image. The thought a person had, the idea, and probably trying to figure out, how can I do this easier? What's a better way to do this? And that'll work. Then that thought came, and then you put it together. It's no different than working with a horse. I mean, you're gonna do some things that don't work great. At least you did something.
And that's a really good point.
Yeah.
That at least you did go ahead and do something. Sure. Opposed to doing nothing, which nothing's going to get you nothing, but at least something is going to get you new awareness, even if it's something that you don't want to repeat.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, you've got to allow yourself, just like you've got to allow your horse the opportunity to make some mistakes, you've got to allow yourself the privilege to experiment. Because every horse is not going to understand in the same way. Every horse is wired up a little different, just like every person is different. And you will learn to read, you'll learn to adapt, you'll learn to adjust accordingly to however, what the attitude of your horse is at any given moment is going to determine more than anything how you utilize, how you put that clear mental picture that you have into use. If you are up there awake and you're thinking, you're gonna be able to catch what kind of an attitude is my horse in right now, and how can I milk this good attitude for all it's worth, or how can I shift this attitude that I don't particularly like at the moment into one that I do like, that does fit. That's like, let's use like driving a car, for example. I mean, there are times when you have to use more gas to go the same speed than others. There's times when you're going downhill, there's times when you're going uphill, there's times when you're in traffic, there's times when you've got the wide open. I mean, there's variables, and if you drive in a busy traffic the same way that you drive on a wide open road, or the same way you would drive in a parking lot, if you don't vary where you're at relative to your surroundings and relative to everything that's going on, we use those pictures, we use that thought process in everything, everywhere, all the time. We're just not used to thinking of it in terms of using it with our horses.
And what I hear you saying is, as I'm listening to you, is really it's about us.
I sure do.
It's about us doing the developing, because we're the ones that are, implemented in, whether it be a horse or dog or anything.
Yeah, and that's what makes it fun, because it's not some outside influence. You're not being controlled or coerced. You're just raising your level of awareness, and as your level of awareness comes up, you will be able to start making adjustments in your own attitude, behavior, whatever that fits, so that you can develop the art of communicating with your horse using those clear mental images.
You know, I often hear you talk about you believe it's an art.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Well, because it's art, because it's not. You can go through the motions of it. You can buy an old horse that's already been around the world, and there's nothing wrong with them. They're very valuable. They're worth their weight in gold, because everybody does not want to develop the art of horsemanship. And if you don't want to, that's okay. But the art form comes into play that as long as you're taking breath, you have the ability to improve upon your understanding. You have the ability to get better on a continuous basis, as long as you recognize that you are just honing. You're sharpening your skills, you're sharpening the horse's skills, you're sharpening your ability to communicate with each horse you come in contact with, and you are making little adjustments all the time. Think of it like an orchestra, and there's a conductor up there, and he's looking at this section, and here he wants more out of this one. Over here he wants this one down, and then he maybe wants them all to come up, and then he wants them to change, and there's so many different facets to that orchestra. And the better skilled that conductor is at bringing out the emphasis at any given moment, you see, the more value, the more beauty that music has. And that's what a person riding a horse, when it is truly done with artistic value in mind, that's what that person is doing. They're not manhandling, they're not forcing, they are arranging the orchestra of that horse's mind, body, emotions into a useful, beautiful work of art.
Isn't that really anything? Isn't that life?
Well, you can make it like that for anything. I mean, I think most of us just we kind of go through the motions. We get up and put our clothes on the same way, and we get up and drive the same way to work, eat the same stuff, and say the same things, hang around the same. We bore ourselves into oblivion.
Yeah.
And and if you're not careful, you'll do that with your horse. And that's one of the things that I'm talking about a lot here. Now, you've got to become interesting to your horse. Otherwise, they want to check out. They want enough of this drudgery.
Well, I think we need to become interesting to everybody and everything. That would make life a lot more fun, wouldn't it? Because who doesn't want to be around somebody that's not interesting?
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a good point. And and then the only way you can become interesting is to activate that mind.
Is activate the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you activate your mind? I know you've been through, you're in 2 weeks into your hip replacement, doing very well.
Yeah.
But naturally it's a recovery. But since you haven't been able to be riding and things like that, how have you kept your mind activated?
Well, I keep studying. I've been watching the futurity going on, and I've been watching those really good riders, and enjoying the level of horsemanship that I see. I mean, it is astronomical, the level of horsemanship that is coming. And let me say this, that I'm sure it's always been there. It's just that as I gain more understanding, I'm able to see more and able to understand more. And that's what will happen to you as you do this, is the more understanding you get, the more you're able to receive. So that's a part of my routine, and I'm learning things that I can communicate to you all with by doing that. Then I also listen to things, throughout the day, but mostly in the morning and mostly in the evening, that are mind quieting, soothing type things to head off the anxiety of, like right now, for the thought of, I feel better than I know I should at this point, so I'm going to be out there doing stuff because I feel like doing it, but I know better than to do it. So I've got that little bit of a rub going on that's limiting me, and I know it's temporary and it'll be fine and everything's fine. But I'm thankful to be able to walk around here pain free and not be limping and carrying on no cane or walk or anything, and I feel very fortunate, and I appreciate that.
So, in closing here, what can you just leave with everybody? I know we got the change your thinking, change your ride, but even if you're not a horse person, do you feel this would benefit? Because I've actually had some people that have gone ahead and are joining in that are not horse people, don't even own a horse. Do you think that it's beneficial, these 8 audios that they have access to right now? Do you think that these are beneficial, that they can apply this to other things in their life besides a horse?
I'm sure they can. I mean, I've done the same thing myself. I'm listening to various things about golf, for example. I've learned a lot about working with a horse, listening to people talk about psychology of playing golf, and I've listened to a lot of sports psychologists that talk about how they work with athletes and how. So it's going to fit in everything that you do, and it might be even easier for a person that's not a horse person, because a horse person is looking for that. What do you do now to quit looking for that? I mean, just go with the idea that when you arrange the thoughts in your mind and you're using that clear mental picture, the what to do now is going to show up on its own. So don't fret about that. So the thought process is where everything is.
Mm-hmm. And I want to mention, you mentioned that about golf. Randy Deal gave you a book several years ago, and you no more had probably ever even picked up a golf club or anything, but he gave that to you. And wasn't that quite a seed that had been planted?
Sure. I mean, it's still, the effects of it are still present today.
So even though somebody's not, like you said, we're talking about horses now, but that doesn't mean that maybe even something that you're doing, like the change your thinking, change your ride, wouldn't benefit somebody, and regardless of what it is that they're doing in life, because there's always something we can pull from something.
I believe so.
Okay. Well, they can go to Change Your Thinking, Change Your Ride program, get it at Cappel Equestrian Courses, and sign up. It's at a no charge for a limited time. And then December 3rd through the 10th, you're going to talk every single night on a conference call talking about each one of these audios that you've come up with, that these are your audios.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Well, I'll answer questions and be there for you, just kind of tour guide and help you, but just enjoy it. I mean, this is fun, so just get on there and help yourself.
Okay, all right. Thank you.